Welcome to another edition of Courageous Conversations Live. I'm your host, Pierre Quinn, and here on Courageous Conversations, we are leveraging the stories of leaders, of creatives, of entrepreneurs to help you live and lead with greater courage. Joining me on this episode of Courageous Conversations Live is my good friend, Dr. David Defoe. Thanks for being my guest today, man.
Pierre, good to be here with you, man. Thank you for having me. I love all the stuff that you're doing, man. So proud of you, for your courage, and then also for your trailblazing nature, man. A lot of us are trying to follow in your footsteps. You don't even know it, man. But, you laying out those footprints and we trying to follow, man.
And, I take some cues, a lot of cues from you. So, yeah, the feeling is mutual. And I'm looking forward to this conversation today. Our theme for today is working through the loss. So if you're stopping the scroll, hanging out with us on Courageous Conversations Live, we need you to do a couple of things. One, in the comment section, let us know you're watching. We love to give you a shout out. We know we have a lot of friends on LinkedIn who hang out with us, but we also have friends on Facebook and YouTube as well. So in the comments section, let us know you're hanging out with us. The other thing is really important. Hit that share button. I know Dr. David Defoe is going to share a lot of great information, insight, and perspective with us today. And you don't want to be stingy. You don't want to keep it to yourself. So go ahead and hit that share button. Another thing is, if you have a question on the topic of working through loss, and we'll get to some specificity on that, feel free to throw that in the comment section as well. And we'll try to answer as many questions as we can during the course of our conversation today. So, Dr. Defoe, give us the 30-second version, the snapshot, the cliff notes. If someone walks up to you and say, what do you do? How would you respond to that question?
Man, that's changed so much over the last couple of months, especially through COVID. I think the way I answer that question is, man, all I do is I try to help people. That could be in their relationships, that could be with their mental health, emotional wellness. I just try to help people be a better version of themselves, man. So that's really what it is.
So what led you down this road? If people look at your bio, they'll see some mental health stuff in there. They'll see some ministry stuff in there. They'll see some teaching stuff in there. What really led you down the road, or what's the backstory behind really how you got to where you are today in your career and your life's mission?
Sure. So for some reason, people always have come to talk to me about their problems, man. If there's an issue, people come in somehow to Defoe, they want to talk about it. And I realized after, so of course I went to school to be a pastor. I'm still a pastor. I went to school to be a pastor, and I realized after I got out of into pastoral ministry, I don't know anything about how to deal with people. Like, people have real problems, and sure, the Bible is good, prayer is good, all those other things are very good, but people had itches that we weren't scratching just with the utilization of theology and the practical application of the Bible. And so I thought that I would go and extend sort of my understanding of the human mind, the human condition, the human temperament. And I went and did a counseling degree. And so from that, along with ministry, I guess now I don't have a church now. I'm now a family life director for a conference. But I started my own private practice. That started maybe in about 2010. I started that. And since then, I've just been sort of navigating both spaces, the mental health space, trying to also encourage other people who are on the religious side of things to pursue the integration of religion with theology, religion with psychology, with counseling. And so that's what I'm doing now. And so I'm helping people not only spiritually, but emotionally, psychologically as well. I'm hoping helping them.
So as you look at, and I'm sure you are, and I actually know you are. I mean, we've been friends for a very, very long time, and I've watched your progression through these different phases of your career and your growth in those areas. Speak to us a little bit about how your perspective maybe on people and people problems and the emotional context of responding to people has changed since doing the counseling degree and starting the practice and having this aspect in your toolkit. How has your worldview, your perspective on people and people problems changed as a result of your work?
I think it's helped me be more accommodating to people with their problems. I think you were the first person to introduce me to Simon Sinek's "Start with the Why."
Mhm.
It's the same. It's the same idea as you deal with people in their brokenness. A lot of times we focus so much on behavior, the what that people do, that we sort of ignore. Well, why are they doing it? And so when we focus so much on the what, we're under you're yelling at me, you're screaming at me, but I don't understand why you're doing it. I don't understand that maybe there was something in your past, there's something in your history, there's something that happened to you, there's something traumatic that may have altered what you do, because the why of something happening to you was someone abused you, touched you, abandoned you, misbroken your trust, and so now you're acting out because you're dealing with this pain. And so it helped me sort of see people more holistically, so that I wasn't focused just on behavior, reactions, interactions, but I started to see things more on a foundational level. Well, what happened to you? What? Tell me the story of these things that are happening. When did this first start for you? And then understanding that we are sort of a product of not only our environments, but we're contextual people. We are a product of our families, our upbringings. We're a product of the mistakes, the challenges, the difficulties that we have. And so I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, because it's one thing, and we went to college together, we went to school together, and it's one thing
Is
to
that what we
have.
did? Did we go to? Oh, we went to school. We may not have gone to class. We went to
Yeah,
school.
yeah, we didn't go. Well, a couple of years we went to class and actually got degrees, but maybe not the
Yeah,
first couple of
yeah,
years.
yeah. There's too much spades, and Anyway, go on, go on. This is your serious. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. This is there's sometimes some super serious moments and sometimes not so serious moments. And we managed to string together a couple of credits and actually get degrees a few times between playing cards all night long.
It
And
took
it's
a little
one thing,
longer.
and it's one thing in that environment to have conversations with your friends,
Yeah.
right? We're talking about, as friends, we talked about our backgrounds and our stories and what our parents did and growing up in our neighborhoods and the
Mhm.
impact that has had even on how we're approaching college and life. It's one thing to have conversations in that sphere. It's another one altogether when you're trying to work with individuals who you may not have that close relationship with, may not have an affinity with,
Yeah.
may not even necessarily like, if I could say that, but you have to work with them
Hmm.
in order to get the job done. And there are so many of us now who, or maybe conversely, it's the family is the place where you're not necessarily comfortable. So you went to work as maybe a form of escapism. You went to work to get out of the house, to get away from people, to catch your breath, to get to eat your snack in peace, whatever it was. And now everything is aggregated together.
Yeah.
And there are so many of us who are grieving not being able to send an email and walk down the cubicle and check on people. And we're in this space where everything happens together and we're trying to hold it together.
Yeah.
First of all, is there a framework? Because is it a realistic expectation in the context that we're all living in right now to have it together more than we are? I don't know really the question to frame, but there seems to be this expectation that if you can't handle virtual school and 50 Zoom calls and all the tech and all of these things together, then you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah. Yeah. For some people, it's and we don't look at grief as the way we should. Grief is just any change in a normal pattern of behavior creates grief. So we look at it as we are only grieving if we lose someone to death. But no, there's all kinds of losses that we experience, and we all grieve them in different ways. And so for many people, there is something called disenfranchised grief, and disenfranchised grief is just what it sounds like. It's just grief that people think you shouldn't have. And so if I'm suffering with the fact that I can't go into the cubicle and I can't have water cooler conversations, or I can't go to lunch with coworkers, or here it is. This is a lot for some of the executives that I've worked with. If I can't get on a plane, and I can't get away, then I shouldn't have these heightened levels of things like anxiety. But we know what COVID-19 has done to individuals is it has increased our fear and anxiety. The physical distancing for some like me, so I'm an introvert, so I don't really like people. Someone like you who loves people, it's harder for you because you can't get out and be with anybody except for those people in your house. So it's difficult. For many people, they experience this increased pressure to be more productive. So if I'm home and I ain't traveling nowhere, I should be able to do more, when that's not necessarily the case. Not being able to participate even when you lose loved ones in conclusionary rituals. These problems have created an amalgamation of symptoms for people that are dealing with this change in this virtual space. Some people, Pierre, some people don't like this. They don't like Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I could attend meetings in my underwears. I'm very excited about that. Some people, they don't like that. So some people are having difficulties navigating this, and the problem is grief is personal. It's experienced by each individual on their own individual level. There's no prescription that we have for grief, for how we should deal with the changes that come to us. And so I think the best thing to do to suggest to people is, be yourself. Realize what it is that you uniquely need. What are the things that you're dealing with that have changed in this last year due to COVID that has you stuck, or has you upset or disappointed? What are the things that you yourself are going through? Because the truth of the matter is, many people they suffer with this disenfranchised loss because I'm alive, I'm healthy, I'm well, I got a house to be in. I shouldn't be sad. Yeah, you should. Any significant change in a pattern of behavior creates grief.
Wow. So thinking about this, I'm thinking about different sections and movements of my life that maybe I didn't grieve, or maybe I didn't take the time to grieve. I was talking to a mentor of mine, and he spoke about a scenario in his organization where they had to let someone go. And he said, this person was beloved in the organization. Were a major contributing part, and people really enjoyed being around them, but they had to let them go.
Yeah.
And he said that we never had the conversation. Like, they were just not there subsequently. And all of the staff had questions about, what happened to this person. How as leaders, I know there's maybe legal things that we can't discuss, some confidentiality issues, but your definition of grief, any major change, how can we navigate when there's a change like that, where someone is fired or they're let go, or God forbid, because of COVID, and we've seen this happen, we've had coworkers die.
Yeah.
And it becomes a major change. And sometimes the response is, let's just kind of ignore it.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways that we can use to maybe have some of these conversations, because it's on our minds and our hearts?
I think especially for leaders that are leading organizations where they have some deep organizational change, or someone leaves through death or through transitioning to other jobs, it's important to be honest and open about how you feel. A lot of times because we've been so socialized in a negative sense with grief. So we're taught to, grieve it alone, or, somehow be strong. So, or we're taught that, well, time will heal the wound. And so you can just give it time. Well, the time doesn't do anything. It's what you do at the time that makes the difference. So I would recommend that we sit and we have honest conversations, that even if, the team is struggling, that you bring someone in that can talk with the team about, the emotional impact, because we know that that grief affects us physically, cognitively, emotionally. It affects us socially, spiritually. It affects us across the board. And so having open, honest conversations where, you as a leader has the courage to say, you know what, I'm not okay. and it's okay. But we're going to figure out how to navigate this space together, because it's not just I need to make sure that I ensure your productivity, but I need to ensure that you have the emotional strength to also do this job, because we know that when people aren't balanced emotionally, psychologically, it leads to burnout. It leads to lack of productivity. People start feeling like they need more time away or time off. So it affects even the bottom line when you don't sort of talk about the organizational pain that exists, especially with transitions and changes.
Sometimes when I do work with organizations, or even that introductory conversation with the decision maker or even the executive, sometimes the
Mhm.
response is, I really want you to come in. I really want you to do some work with us because my team needs this. And
Mhm.
there's some distancing that happens between what their team needs and what they're willing to lean into. Or
Yeah.
even some leaders who want to lead the conversation and lead the training, as opposed to bringing someone else in because it allows them to maintain that distance. Why should especially the leader lean into even the part of the discomfort that comes from being a part of the process, as opposed to always wanting to lead a process?
Yeah. Because it's easier to act like it's a problem that we're helping someone else solve. It's easier, especially when you're a helper, to help someone else than to be able to stand up and say, you know what, I need help myself. And so oftentimes when I have those conversations, specifically with leaders, it's always asking them, well, you know what, are you okay? Do you think that this is something that you should lead because you have already talked to someone and healed from this, or are you masking the emotional pain behind some perception of strength, so that
Oh,
if I'm in the weeds with you, if I'm crying with you, and if I'm emoting with you, then somehow I'm weak or I'm not a leader. No, leadership happens not above the people, but among the people. And so you are the strongest leader that you can be as you grieve with others, as you show them that it's okay for you to say, you know what, I need some help, that I don't have it all together. And then, of course, it also builds trust in your leadership. Like, people will start to see you as honest. Like, how in the world are we all grieving someone that was a part of our family, but you're not? So what are you, a robot? You're not human. And so I think people appreciate the humanity in their leaders even more than the perceived strength of their leaders.
in your work, and maybe I know you can't give us names and any of that for confidentiality, and it's just not professional. But can you give us an example of maybe working with someone and maybe they were apprehensive before, trying to figure out like why does even seeing a clinician, like what difference is it going to make, or I'm just doing it because, and through the course of the process their whole perspective changed and they maybe someone actually became an advocate
Mhm.
for leaders having that person as a part of their team that they actually talk to and process life with.
It's very natural within, especially the therapeutic space, for people to have resistance. Like, I don't know how many clients I've had that have come in because someone else has forced them, or they've been court ordered, or they're trying to save a marriage, save a job, something, trying to do something. And they enter it not understanding or realizing that therapy could do something for them. But one thing that I think a lot of people have to understand is that therapists, we merely provide the safe space for you to come in and do your own work, your own introspection. Everyone got something that they need to talk to someone else about. Now, it may not cause disequilibrium in your way to your ability to live your life and to navigate the world. It may just be, you get short with only certain types of people, or certain types of conversations affect you, or I have problems at the job, but I come home and I do something called transferential displacement. I transfer my feelings onto my spouse or my family, and I displace the things that I should communicate outside. I displace it on them. So everyone has a need to sit down and sort of talk with someone, but resistance is a natural. Everyone in any relationship is resistant. We're all hesitant. We all don't just, say, oh, here I am. Oh, I'm in a relationship. This is all of me. No, we hold everything back. Well, the therapeutic process is so, well, we don't hold everything back, but the therapeutic process is just like any other relationship. You give a little, you find out a little bit about them, and, you grow.
Now, there are some people hearing this, and I know we mentioned it before, and you
Hmm.
mentioned your work with executives.
Yep.
There are people who their perspective is, yeah, but would I want to do that in a work environment? Would I want a session of processing or emoting or sharing my feelings in a work environment? Aren't we just here to get the job done? Aren't we just here tab A, slot B, or close contracts and make sales? What's the value of having someone like you come to an executive meeting or an all staff session or a training day? What's the value of having you or someone like you to
Yeah.
partner with uh, during, especially during this time in organizational life
Yeah.
cycle?
Pierre, what if your staff knew that you could do more than just pay them, but that you can also care, that you can be vulnerable enough so that people develop a trust not just in you, but that they develop a deeper trust in your organization because they feel that you care about not just what they can produce or how well they can perform, but also how well they are. And I think that's sort of one of the greatest benefits. And of course, not all leaders are able to say, you know what, here are my scars, these are my challenges. And so maybe perhaps it's getting the leadership team together, and the leadership team together working on some challenges or experiencing vulnerability with each other. Not everybody wants to do that with the staff, and so I don't suggest. It depends on, of course, culture comes into this. It depends on workplace culture, but depending on whatever that culture is or whatever the environment is that you've created as a leader, there are mechanisms that you can utilize to get the emotional work done, so that your staff, your organization, doesn't just bury stuff under the rug, so that you can experience not only the good productivity that comes with a work product, but also people feel better about doing it. They feel better about the space that they have to walk into. They feel that they're appreciated, that they're cared for, that you care not just about what they can produce, but that you care about their ability to be okay.
There are some people who are watching live, or they're going to watch the replay of this, and maybe they have some questions, or maybe they're trying to decide, okay, do I click on Dr. Defoe's profile? Do I send him a message on LinkedIn? Do I go to amaracounseling.com? You know, would I even qualify? Would even me and my organization qualify to have a session, or even to have a conversation? Can you give us some clarity on really the types of leaders and organizations that should reach out to you in one of these ways?
Sure. If you lead an organization that's having difficulty with managing people's ability to work remotely, that this new digital space is causing some angst or some anxiety. If people struggling with the fact that they now have team meetings, but there's no hugging, there's no fist bumps, there's no handshakes, there's no nothing, there's no sharing of food and donuts. No one can steal my food out the refrigerator no more unless they're only in my family. Whatever the challenges are, whatever the changes are that has happened in the organization, we can help. It doesn't matter. We've dealt with or we've helped news agencies. We've helped Fortune 100 companies. We've helped. There was a computer company that we've helped and talked with. Whatever the staff is, no matter how big, how small you want to do it, we can give you some assistance, or even our therapists can give you some assistance in helping your organization navigate the grief and navigate the changes that are happening in your organization that you all feel ill-equipped emotionally to deal with. We know that you can put plans in place, you can put vision in place. That's why you're a leader. But emotionally, if you need the help in the underpinning, we can definitely help you.
Defoe, I want to thank you for hanging out today. I know people are going to reach out. They're going to go to amaracounseling.com, or they're going to send you this message to connect on LinkedIn and reach out. I want to thank you in advance for the work that you and your staff will do to help leaders and their teams developed the courage to work through some of the losses, some of the griefs that we're all dealing with. So I just want to thank you in advance for them, and I also want to thank you for being my guest today.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me, man. Keep it up, man.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
Okay.